And very confusing because he had promised after last year. I really felt that he would keep his promise, and I felt now at 25 years old I could have had 2 Tour de France victories in my legs.
Number 10. Alberto Contador. Spaniard Alberto Contador was considered one of the greatest cyclists for a good portion of the 2000s. Among his accolades included 3 Tour de France titles, but it was upon racking up his 3rd win in 2010 that he landed in trouble. Weeks later, it was revealed that he tested positive for clenbuterol, a banned substance often used for weight loss and to treat asthma.
Se ve que tanto el día 19 como el día 20 es totalmente negativo y al día 21 es cuando sale esta cantidad mínima, ¿no? Esta cantidad mínima, según los expertos, es absolutamente imposible de tú podértela suministrar.
While Contador claimed his innocence, believing that the amine must have come inside the meat he consumed, which was brought over from Spain, he was subsequently stripped of his 3rd Tour de France title. His legacy, in turn, tarnished.
After examination of all the evidence, the CAS has found that it was very unlikely that this contaminated food could be originated from Spain.
But this wasn't the only controversy Contador was involved in during the 2010 Tour. Number 9. Chaingate. During stage 15 of the competition of that very same year, Tour leader Andy Schleck would suddenly come to a halt and fix his bike's chain after it fell off. Contador would then attack and ride past him.
Oh, what's happened? His chain's off. Schleck's chain's off.
Yeah,
well, his chain is jammed and Contador's gone. Well, this is terrible. Well, for Schleck, look at this.
This series of events received attention because what Contador did was seen as somewhat unethical, in that there is an unwritten rule in the cycling community which states that riders should not pass an individual who was stopped to deal with a mechanical issue. If there's one thing for certain, it's that all was fair in love and war for Contador that year.
Constantemente, y cuando yo he atacado hoy, yo no sabía que él tenía ningún tipo de avería, ¿no? Entonces por eso no le di más vueltas.
But you did, though. Number 8. TV car crash.
A little bit of chaos. Just having a quick look here.
In fact, there's been a crash here. Oh, goodness me, that hit the side of the car.
In a scarier incident which took place during Stage 9 of the Tour de France in 2011, a television car from a French TV network would suddenly swerve into the middle of the road and come into direct contact with one cyclist who fell and then hit another who was sent flying into a fence. The 2 individuals, Juan Antonio Flecha and Johnny Hogerland, sustained serious injuries but were able to finish the stage. The tour's director, Christian Pudum, blamed the car's driver for the incident, stating that they did not heed the directions from the race's radio channel, which all television cars are supposed to actively listen to and follow. The driver of the car was subsequently excluded from covering the remainder of the race. What's most shocking was that this wasn't the only time that a vehicle hit a bike that year during the race, as a motorbike carrying a photographer from an earlier stage was mere inches beside a peloton to capture a snapshot, but instead it ended with a wipeout. Number 7. Eddy Merckx gets punched. This 5-time Tour de France winner wound up getting sucker punched by a fan who was near the road in 1975. Following the attack, in a true testament to his resilience, Merckx would catch his breath and complete the stage. However, the damage caused by the punch proved to be significant, as Merckx went on to claim he experienced breathing problems during the remainder of the race. The perpetrator, Nello Breton, would claim in court that he was pushed and merely struck Merckx by accident. But this notion was dismissed by the judge, and he was ordered to pay Merckx the symbolic fine of 1 single franc for the damages. Number 6. Bernard Hinault versus Greg LeMond.
Greg LeMond has arrived and is beating the Europeans at their game. But riding in his way is a man who had pledged to help him win his first Tour. 5-time winner Bernard Hinault has let it be known he is off in search of a record 6th victory.
In 1985, American rider Greg LeMond voiced his support for his teammate Bernard Hinault to win the Tour de France. Hinault would reciprocate the gesture by promising that he would do the same for LeMond the following year. But come that time, Hinault would seemingly go back on the promise he made the previous year.
But when it was all over, it was Greg LeMond who finished here along the Champs-Élysées in yellow.
Although LeMond went on to win it all, his road to victory and the victory itself was overshadowed by the conflict he was suddenly embroiled in with his teammate, as well as the subsequent press coverage.
It's terrible that we had to come to such a conflict in in such a race. But, I mean, that's the way life goes. I mean.
Number 5, 2021 Tour de France crash.
Oh, a huge crash at the side of the road. I don't know what happened there, but everyone has come down.
Crashes are commonplace during the competition, but none have ever been quite like this. German cyclist Tony Martin was riding through the race's first stage and was suddenly hit by a sign that a woman put in his way to show a TV camera. He fell, resulting in an entire peloton of cyclists to naturally tumble down.
Well, the stupidity of a fan at the side of the road. Look at this. Tony Martin comes through, is not even facing the peloton, which you should never, ever do.
The incident went viral, with some going so far as to call it the worst crash in Tour de France history. The fan was arrested and fined €1,200. Some things are just not worth doing to get airtime.
So yeah, a fan at the side of the road trying to hold a sign out for the camera got absolutely thumped. Shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I said a few moments ago, well done to the fans who have looked after the riders today.
Number 4, the tragedy of Tom Simpson. In what is arguably the most tragic event covered on our list, British cyclist Tommy Simpson was in the midst of completing a mountain stage in the 1967 Tour de France when he suddenly collapsed from heat exhaustion, dehydration, and fatigue.
Simpson had demanded that he was put back on his bike.
Et nous arrivons à la hauteur de Tom Simpson.
He went another 500 yards before collapsing again. He was now unconscious.
Upon being checked by a doctor, Simpson was taken to a hospital where, after further examinations, was pronounced dead. An autopsy indicated that he had traces of amphetamines in his blood, and investigators uncovered drugs in both the pockets of the jersey he wore to the race and his hotel room.
Tom Simpson died as a result of extreme dehydration, having taken a potent cocktail of both amphetamines and brandy.
An icon in British cycling, his untimely death marked the end of a remarkable career filled with promise that was cut too soon.
You didn't want to think that someone had taken a mate away, and something like the Tour de France, in all its innocence, could take the life of a person away.
Number 3, the 2006 Tour de France. The whole event of that year was plagued with several controversies revolving primarily around, you guessed it, doping. The first was Operación Puerto, a police operation that is still very much pertinent in the world of cycling today, indicating that several cyclists obtained blood transfusions from Spanish doctor Efumiano Fuentes. Many of those cyclists were set to participate in the Tour de France in 2006 and were subsequently dismissed.
Cycling flipped upside down again. 9 riders dismissed from the Tour, including those who, behind Lance Armstrong, finished 2nd Ivan Basso, 3rd Jan Ulrich, and 4th Francisco Mancebo.
And then, weeks later, the winner of that year's Tour de France, Floyd Landis, was stripped of his title because he was using banned substances during the race. Spending nearly $2 million to attempt to clear his name in court while claiming his innocence, it was to no avail. Years later, Landis would admit to using performance-enhancing drugs not only during that race, but for the majority of his career. In short, the 2006 Tour de France was another dark chapter in the competition's highly scandalous history.
I guess a few days after the Tour, when I was told about that positive test, I think I would have told the truth right then. Everything else, I'd do it all again. It was worth doing for winning the race.
Number 2, Lance Armstrong.
Armstrong is coming with an incredible rush, and Cloten has realised it too late. Is there any stopping Lance Armstrong in this Tour de France? And the answer is no, there is not.
The name of this entry says it all. For years, rumors circulated that arguably the most successful and popular cyclist in history had been using performance-enhancing drugs throughout the majority of his career. After several testimonials from past associates and the release of a scathing report from the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, Armstrong wouldn't contest the charges placed against him and was stripped of all of his achievements, including his then record 7 Tour de France titles.
UCI will ban Lance Armstrong from cycling, and UCI will strip him of his 7 Tour de France titles. Lance Armstrong has no place in cycling.
He would later publicly confess to using performance-enhancing drugs during an interview with Oprah Winfrey.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
But we're not sure what's worse, the fact that he cheated all this time, or that he'd do it all over again if he could.
If you take me back to 1995, when it was completely and totally pervasive, I'd probably do it again. People don't like to hear that.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Michel Pelletier. This Belgian cyclist was removed from the competition in 1978 for trying to dupe a drug test. Attack on Maurice Guérin. A group of masked culprits attacked this cyclist during the competition in 1904. Shortcut frenzy. Several riders are punished for riding trains and using cars to get to the finish line in 1904. The Michael Rasmussen fraud case. This race leader was kicked off his team mid-race in 2007 for not revealing his whereabouts the month prior. The PDM scandal. It was uncovered that the Dutch cycling team PDM had been using banned substances while competing in the Tour de France in 1988. Number 1. The Festina affair. A rather earth-shattering scandal unfolded quite simply. During the Tour de France of 1998, a masseur of the French cycling team Festina was driving through customs and was stopped by officials for a routine check. What they uncovered was nothing short of shocking, as they found 400 bottles and capsules of performance-enhancing supplements. While members and reps of the Festina team denied any wrongdoing, further investigation and searches into their hotel rooms proved otherwise, and the team had been banned from participating in the competition. This in turn resulted in other teams being investigated, and they either received a ban or pulled out of the race to avoid punishment. The incident not only tarnished France's reputation in the world of cycling, but it also instigated paranoia and raised awareness towards cyclists using performance-enhancing drugs at an all-time high. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.